Welcome to TAW University. It is February 27th, and this is the all-new TAW University. I am Sooner OKC. I want to welcome everybody. Um, I think if someone could get a screenshot of the channel at some point and just email it to me or to Cutthroat, that'd be fine. Real quick, the mission statement for TAW University is to ensure the continued life of our organization through teaching future leaders and continuing education for our current leaders. This education will ensure the future of TAW through instilling a a servant leadership mindset. And that's very important. We're all volunteers here in TAW. We uh, we take on positions as they come to us, all doing our part to build this organization, which started 10 years ago. And if people don't step up and take on new roles, and we won't be where we're at today. It's just amazing if you think of all the people that have passed through here and that people have done different things at different times to build this organization. And the leaders that we have here in channel now, plus the up and coming stars, you're the heart of this organization. And just by attending this meeting shows us that you're interested in hearing how the COC interacts and how they work together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask some questions. Our main guests today are we've got the new Army Commander, Braveheart, and we have the Army Lieutenant Commander, Hibernator, along with the Corps Commander, Laura Croft of 2 Corps, and we have Lucky. He's my DC from the Armor Division. And what I wanted to do was kind of get the whole complete chain of command. We've got a DC, CC, and then Army Command. I wanted to kind of get them together, sit them down, and just kind of discuss about how they interact and how they work together. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting. So Brave, welcome.
Thank you.
Hibernator, welcome.
Roger, glad to be here. Hoorah!
Laura, welcome.
Thank you.
And Lucky, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm trying to focus my bifocals on my screen here, so it took me a little bit because I am old. All right. Well, guys, my first question to you, and I'll just start with Brave real quick. Brave, how did you get into TAW? What brought you to TAW?
To be honest, it was really two things. I'll start with just the organized gameplay. I was really looking hard for a group of people that were into organized game. I used to spend the best part of an hour sometimes just finding a game where the right complement of classes and communication was going on, and even if we lost, it was a blast. So that was number one, and the second big thing was the code of ethics that treat everyone with respect and the no glitching cheating thing. That was huge to me. So fortunately, I started playing on TAW servers, and Crusher, old Quake War guy, noticed me and asked me to join up. So that's really how it all happened.
Well, that's a lot better than mine. Mine was pure luck. I happened to get the game Call of Duty and went into the online gaming. I think I hit a TAW server about the second time in, and I asked the guys, "What's this TAW in your name tag?" And they said, "What's TAW? You gotta come try it out." So I kind of just stumbled into it. All right, Hybe, I kind of remember you actually how you got in, but why don't you give us the story?
Yeah, that was kind of funny that while you were mentioning you were having a hard time seeing people because you had to adjust your bifocals because you're old. Let me read you, everybody in TAW, what Sooner, or what's in my profile here. And this is from Sooner. I did this recruit's boot camp because he's older than me, with an exclamation point. Lieutenant Colonel Sooner, CD. CD. So Sooner's not the oldest guy here, I don't think.
That's right. I actually recruited Hibernator on our server, and because I noticed he was hiding and real quiet in the background, so I thought it'd be an easy kill for me in the future.
Well, I use that tag because otherwise my tag would be run and gun, and that's not the way I roll. So I'm always in the background trying to pop you with my MP40 at that time. But yeah, back in the Call of Duty 2 days, it's kind of like Brave. First impressions are always the most important. And I was in a lot of servers, and it was just junk. People were mean. They were jerks. They'd kick you. If you didn't know the rules, they just throw you out, and that was it. Well, with TAW, Sooner was the first guy that texted me in game, and it was like really nice. Nobody was cussing. Nobody was cheating. He took time to explain things, and I'm going, wow, this is pretty cool. And so that was the first thing that got me into TAW was the first impression. So whenever you guys are out there and you have an opportunity for a new guy that pops in, yeah, we call them pubs and newbies and noobs. And however, that may be the one guy that ends up being the TAW University general or whoever, so always make a good first impression.
Excellent advice there. Excellent. All right, Laura, give us your little story.
Okay. Well, actually, I joined TAW through a friend who was playing Far Cry. I'd never played first-person shooter games before on a PC. I think the nearest I'd come to playing PC games was Command and Conquer series, which is going back quite a while. And before that, I'm going to sound really old now, which is the Atari Space Invaders. So that was through your TV at the time. So, I've always been a big fan of games. And this was just, it got my attention and thought, I'm intrigued. And then obviously it went on to this person was in TAW, so it led me to here and very curious and how it all worked. And it was literally being thrown in at the deep end. Not having a clue how a clan or a gaming organization works, let alone trying to fathom out how a first-person shooter game works. So it was all good fun. Had a lot of time learning about everything, I did.
Well, good deal. Okay, Lucky, you're up.
So the question is, how did you find your way to TAW?
Exactly.
Well, there hangs a tale as it goes because, let's see, almost 2 years ago, I've been playing games. I'm about your age, Sooner, and I've been playing computer games since they were text games. Um, and 2 years ago, I was playing some Far Cry 2, mainly because it has a great map editor, and limited, but great. And I was playing with some friends, and they said, let's play online with some people online. And I said, oh, most of the people online are such jerks that, they just have no decorum and everything. They said, let's try it. So we stumbled into a TAW server, and it was great. And I thought, these people are behaving better. It's still a public server, but it's a better organization, clearly. So they said they were recruiting, and I applied and got rejected. And that was sort of the end of that for a while. And then got into Arma 2 when it came out in the summer of 2009, and played it with just a couple friends for a long time. And when Operation Arrowhead came out last summer, we went online and stumbled into it. I liked the name. I saw The Art of Warfare. That sounds great. Let's try them. And one thing led to another, and Hook and Omega basically shanghaied me and dragged me in.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm sure you're probably just rejected because your height requirements or something like that. It wasn't nothing personal.
Yeah.
All right. Lucky, since you kind of came through a different, with Vanguard. You started out in Vanguard. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how did that, guys that have been here longer, Vanguard is, I want to say, maybe 2 years old, something like that. Maybe, well, I guess longer than that. Maybe 3 years old. It's kind of changed. Fox and I were one of the original guys that started Vanguard. It's of course taken off since then, even greater. But give me your thoughts on that experience about, building a division from the ground, and how did Vanguard help shape as a DC and kind of bringing the team together in those early days and helping it launch.
Okay. On the first go around, I think Vanguard proved to be a really good incubator. There was enough support and enough guidance But there certainly wasn't the micromanaging of us. Spec and the style of it and all that that implies. Um, and, generous people. I still feel really grateful to Duke Nukem for his and answering my stupid questions, um, and connecting me to the support staff and that sort of thing. Um, I think that's probably it.
Great. So just it's a great foundation.
Yes, it really helped us get off the ground well.
All right. Okay, Laura, you're up next. Um, some of those and different divisions, if you can.
Sorry, what's that?
Some of the early positions that you had in TAW, some of the different jobs you did.
Okay. Yep. Very first one, I think, is where we all start off is as a DI, and that went on to the HDI, which has now been renamed. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing both those roles. I really enjoyed it, actually. I think that's what most influenced me to, go for other positions if they came up. I think it just made me learn and understand how TOR works, about the rules and regs. And it expanded by meeting people, and that's one thing I do like. I like to meet people and talk to them. I'm sure everybody knows that.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
It's very
So
gracious
true.
of you. But well, I think that's why we're here. We're here to meet people and make friendships. That's the reason.
Absolutely. Now you were at EC.
Yeah.
Was that Call of Duty, or which division was that?
Yep. Call of Duty. I was DO. Then I went up to Corps Command. So I took a couple of roles in Battalion Command as well. That was in Call of Duty.
So how do you think that those early days in being a battalion commander, how did they kind of shape you for the future job that you're doing now?
Ooh, definitely by dealing with several issues and learning to delegate a little, which is tough for me sometimes. I'm not very good at it, but learning that you've got to be in a team, that there's not just one person doing a job, it's a team of you doing a job. And that's really the core of everything, how it works. I think if you try and do everything yourself without letting the others part of others on your team, that won't shape you very well. I think you've got to learn to adapt to working with other people, listening. That's another big skill you've got to learn. Listen to what people say to you, take it in, because you might come across several situations that you might think you have all the answers for, but you don't.
Yeah.
But to listen to others that have opinions, you can, you learn to separate the two, from opinion to good feedback and good criticism. It's got to be constructive, but it's there and it should be listened to and absorbed and worked on.
Yeah, I look back at my time as a XO and CO back in the CD days. I was an XO CO for about a year and a half, and that was some of the most fun that I've had in TAW. And again, like you said, you get to meet a lot of different people, and you get to deal with issues on a different scale, um, being a battalion or even a DC. I kind of remember your first day as a lieutenant corps commander, and I think you were with uh, No Sense as the CC, and I said, "Welcome to the team." And boy, that it started rolling in pretty quick. You guys were hitting the floor with some hard decisions at the very beginning.
Yeah, it was most fun. Talk about thrown in at the deep end. That was just exactly what it was. But it was all a good learning curve. That's all this is all the time. You're just learning and learning, and sometimes you'll get it right, sometimes you won't. But that's why we're human. We're not robots. We're not programmed.
Yep, sounds good. Hybe, how about you?
Well, I'd like to expand on some stuff that Laura was talking about. All these different positions you get into, and they build on them, and they prepare you for the next job, hopefully, and hopefully your boss is training you for the next job. So if you're like the XO of a company, the CO is training you to be the CO. I mean, you should always train somebody below you to take your spot. And that way, like in the real world, in real combat, if the captain or the CO of the unit gets shot, the XO steps up, takes over, he knows exactly what to do. There is no loss of command or leadership. And so that's what I like happening, and that's the way it happened with me as we came up. And but the thing is, you mentioned in your mission statement about servant leadership. When I was in Call of Duty as the DC, I got tapped to take over or come up into Third Corps, the assistant to the Third Corps commander, which was outside of my gaming skills or situation because Call of Duty was in Second Corps. So I go, okay. They asked me. I guess the leadership has faith in me, so I'll go ahead and take the job. But I don't know anything about Bad Company or at that time Quake Wars or League of Legends. So I got in that position and started buying the games to start learning it. So, like Laura says, you got to listen to people. You got to know what you're talking about. And then a month later, I got tapped again. Says, we need you to come over here to Second Corps as a Corps commander. Says, okay. So thanks a lot, Sooner. I wasted about $100 on games for a month, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got deep pockets.
Yeah. But the bottom line and why I'm telling you this long story is servant leadership. You got to be ready to step up. If the leadership thinks you're ready and you think you're ready, then jump on it. And if you don't have to, as a lot of folks know, you don't have to step up if you don't want to. But it's a lot of fun. Like Laura says, as long as you don't get too big for your britches, as my dad used to say, you're never bigger than the team itself. I mean, you may be the leader, but you got to listen. You got to listen to all the troopers. Everybody's important. You've got to listen to people. You may have the best idea, but you listen to everybody else's, and you may have the worst idea. But the bottom line is treat everybody like you want to be treated. Don't talk down to people. It's a team effort, and always make your boss look good. If you can make your boss look good, good things happen for you after that.
Oh, exactly. That's why I made sure you're on my team, but way back when. But you said some things in there that are really important. That whatever position, if for the guys who are currently in positions, you should be tapping, be looking for the guy to replace you because you never know when the call is going to come, or you don't know when you may have to step down for whatever reason. It's important that you have that guy ready to fill another spot. And if you're a DC or a DO, you need and you've got the battalion XO lined up, or battalion commander lined up, you better have the battalion XO ready to go. And then you better have in the back of your mind the guy that's going to replace the XO, because this is gaming. Things happen, things change within 3 or 4 months. They can change. By the time you think you got it all right, something's going to change. And I think Lucky would probably agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as it feels like smooth sailing, you better look around because there's a storm cloud coming.
Exactly. All right, Brave, you're up next. Give me some questions that you've had in the past and how they've kind of shaped you.
Well, I've heard Sooner say this before too. You want to move up in TAW, just keep saying yes. That's kind of what happened with me. I was one of the first people I met in TAW was Hook. And to be honest, if Hook wasn't the way he is, I wouldn't be here today. Such a friendly guy, like your best friend. You talk to him for 5 minutes, it's like you've known him all your life. So I just approached Hook. He was my DC at the time. Had a lot of respect for the effort he put in, and Hook was a hard-working guy. He did it all. I don't even think we had a CO at the time, and I went up and offered my help, whatever I could do. I had no idea what it would be, just anything. And within a week or so, he asked me if I wanted to be the staff officer. And that was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed the staff officer. And from there, I moved up to XO, CO, which was the most fun I had in TAW. At that point, Gus Reinhardt, I don't know how many people remember Reinhardt. He was my corps commander, and So really, Hook and Reinhardt were my biggest influences as I moved up through the chain of command until I really met Sooner. But every position shapes you. Every one changes your outlook on things. You learn how to deal with people. When I was in SO, I was just a fly on the wall, really. I just sat back and took attendance and listened to everybody else do all the arguing and stuff over how we were going to do things. But once you become CO, then it's pretty much all on your shoulders. So, the way I always did things was just to surround myself with good people that didn't agree with me, because that's the way I like it. I like people that don't agree, and take their advice as much as possible. And that's about all.
Brave, give me three people that have shaped you in TAW. What helped you in different ways, but just give me three people, and maybe why.
Well, without a doubt, Hook. Um, I'd say Reinhardt and you when I finally met you. Hook. Everybody knows that Hook can talk for a little while and likes to come into channel with his guns blazing. And he gets things done. Reinhardt was the complete opposite. He very soft spoken, and would listen to both sides of things, and not make a jump to the gun kind of thing. He would talk things out. So I always pictured myself wanting to be somewhere in between Hook and Reinhardt. And so they were my big influences, moving up. I wanted to be somewhere in the middle of running in there with, all guns firing, and then Reinhardt, who I thought was maybe a little bit too mellow. So I mean, but they were my two biggest influences till I met Sooner, who was to me the perfect mix of both. You know, he's one of those talk softly and carry a big stick guy, and he doesn't like to lay the hammer down. But if you push Sooner in the corner, he will. So really, those are my three big influences.
Okay, great. Hybe, you got three?
Sure. I was just going over my mind who they might be. Obviously, you were the first one because you're the one that recruited me and kind of trained me and got the TAW thing going. And also Fools. I don't know if you guys remember Fools.
Oh, I do. Yep.
Great mentor. He was my first squad leader, and he also shaped me back when I was talking about first impressions. He's the one that set me up and told me this is how TAW works, and he was a great leader because just the way he operated and handled people. He treated everybody with respect. He wasn't a dick, and he was just treated everybody nice. But and then the third person, you got to think, and I'm going from the top spectrum to, and I don't want to say the bottom spectrum, maybe full spectrum. Um, like Grease Man. I don't know if you guys know Grease Man, but I like playing with him. He's a little crazy, but he always had a good time. But it also showed me how younger guys operated in this environment. So I watched and observed him and as well as the other guys and how they interfaced and operated with the command structure. Since we're not a military, this is a gaming volunteer thing. And I learned a lot by watching him and guys like him and took that information on board.
Oh, exactly. You kind of make me kind of think. There was a young guy who was probably about 16, 17 years old, and of course I've got kids the same age, and he was he's smarter than me. I mean, book smarter than me. I could tell this guy was going to be something, but he was always asking for attention. He was always doing something to draw attention to himself, and I just had enough of him. I brought him in. I said, look, you're the smartest person in this room. You're just being him. I said, you need to quit the clowning around, and you need to, get better. And we chatted for like 5-10 minutes. Well, this guy starts crying on me, and he thanked me for the meeting, and boom, we went on, and he got better. And 6 months later, maybe a year later, he comes in channel, starts talking to me. He says, Sooner, I want you to know that talk you had with me that one day, it changed my life because I quit doing what I was doing at home, at school. I got serious. This kid's an engineer in a university up in the Northwest now. or Northeast actually. So it's amazing how we can influence people without even knowing we're influencing people. We've got older guys here. We've got people that are police officers, doctors, engineers, communications workers, just you name it. And then we've got some young minds full of mush that are being shaped by us, and we don't even know. And they're shaping us, like you said. Um, they're they're fun. And I stay in contact with some of these guys that I've known for 4, 5, 6 years, and they're kind of part of my family in a way. My mom, my wife, and my kids ask, "Well, how's so and so doing? Have you talked to them lately?" So there's a lot of connection here that we don't think about. Um, let's see, Laura, can you give me three real quick?
Yep. First of all, Shads in CD, various battalion command roles I've had. He's always pushed me and said, "Yeah, you can do it." Same with the DO role that I took, and of course, Hib, who was also in CD, and then also went on to when I was a CLC or LCC at the time. Huge influence and no sense as well. Great to work with, great influence, really great. Can't thank them enough, and still doing it to this day.
All right. Lucky, do you have? I know you haven't been quite here quite as long, but give me a couple names.
Um, well, I would say definitely Hook. He was 100% my mentor coming in because he was uh, in the ARMA group, and every step he asked me to take a step up the ladder, I said, "And what are you going to be doing?" And he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere." And I was like, "All right, I'll take it." Um, and for the reasons that other people have said, his amazing people skills, which I envy, his sense of his hard work and his broad good judgment, things that I try to emulate. Similarly, I would say Hybe was my first corps commander and the one that got to deal with some of the stickier issues that I ran into. And Hybe said our first meeting, our first TeamSpeak meeting when I was going to be DC, he said, this corps is a drama-free zone. So, let's just get that straight. And, that's, as we all know, in gaming groups, drama is one of the big killers. So trying to find ways to avoid that, Hybe made a lot of good suggestions. And when I brought him problems, he was able to say, in a very prudent, old soul sort of way, well, do this, do that, and don't worry about it. Make your decision, go on. That's fine.
Exactly. Looking at this TF2, the members in channel and the whole division, um, one of the last tougher decisions I had to make, as a big decision, was to basically get rid of a sore that was festering and pussing and everything in TAW, that we had to make a decision, and we had to make a decision fast when we found out we were being hosed, basically, and we did it. And you wonder at the time, was that the best decision? Could we have done something different? And we talked about it in our own channel. Talked about, was that the right thing? We talked about it, an hour later, a day later, a week later, a month later. But when I look at this TF2 team, I know that we made the right decision. That we did the right thing by getting rid of some people that just didn't quite grasp what TAW was all about. They thought they knew what it was all about, but they didn't practice it. They thought they were practicing it, but when divisions get stuck in the bunker mentality, when they don't realize that they're part of a bigger picture, that is a problem, and that's what we all have to avoid wherever we're at. Remembering that we're part of a cog in the wheel, that we all have a job to do, and we need to do it. We don't need to be poking our nose in other people's business, but at the same time, we are a bigger picture, and we influence each other in ways that we don't even understand, 100%. All right. Let's see. Laura, do you have any? Give me some of those maybe in general, if you can, tough decision you had to make in your time here in TAW, and how did you kind of, looking back at it, what if you can, how did it work out?
Um, well, there's been a few, I suppose, examples, but one of the one that brings to mind was an issue with one of the divisions, actually in AA, and it was a very difficult one. In fact, it was the one we were talking about before about being thrown at the deep end, and I had to draw on all the skills that I've hopefully learned over my time being here, in order to handle it, because it's very, very difficult. Like you say, when you get a drama situation, they're the toughest. And basically, just communication, trying to sit down with everybody and talk to everybody, find out what's involved, and try and find a solution. It's really, really difficult. And you have to be tough sometimes. You have to make a choice, and you do question that choice sometimes, but you have to also rely on your instincts. I think if you trust your instincts, that sometimes comes a little bit, with experience in life in general. You can't second guess yourself. You have to think, right, that's the way I want to go, and go with it. And basically, this particular situation, it was about position that somebody had taken and weren't happy about it. Really, really, tough stuff. Made it very awkward, and was a bad atmosphere within that division, and it needed sorting very quickly. And so we had a big meeting. I had everybody involved, to see if we could work out that issue, and it wasn't going anywhere. So in the end, I was actually given an ultimatum, and I had to turn around and say, look, I don't do ultimatums. That isn't about you. It's about everybody else. You're a team. You don't, it's not what it's going to do for you, it's what it's going to do for everyone. So tough.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to kind of skip over some of my questions here. I'm going to throw this one out, and whoever wants to answer, just pop up. But what's some of the rewards of being a leadership? We may have already kind of hit some of those, but I know, like, again, interacting with some people and getting to, especially the young people, getting to kind of know them and seeing them kind of grow up. I joined over 6 years ago, and guys that were 16 then are in their 20s, or they're in college now. Um, some have gotten married and stuff like that. So that's some of the rewards I see in being in a leadership position. And one of the biggest I personally see is looking back at when I was an Army commander for so long, is helping to put these different people in positions that are doing a fantastic job. And a lot of reward from that, looking back. When I was talking to them all, getting ready to step down from that position, I just told them how proud I was of every one of them, that I'd gotten a chance to kind of get them into that position, and to be able to leave knowing that they were we were in good hands. I was really proud of that, being a part of that, with them. But I'm gonna throw that out to everybody, or whoever wants to answer it. What's some of the rewards of being a leader?
Well, Braveheart break. I'd echo the same thing, and I'd keep that short. My biggest kick in TAW is, mentoring, grooming leadership, picking, the right person, and most of the time, most of the times you're right. Sometimes you make a mistake, but that's the biggest kick I get, is seeing people grow in their leadership, and getting them in a position and seeing them excel. I really get a kick out of that.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I got something for you real quick. Sorry, Lucky, you want to go ahead?
No, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, my big kick is, well, I don't know if it's a kick or not, but I just want people to understand, good leadership tactics, one of which being, if you're the leader, you're in charge. It's your team, your crew. If somebody screws up in your team, it's your fault. Don't make excuses. Don't try to pad it. Just say, Roger, we screwed up. We'll fix it and move out. I get tired of these guys. If it was so and so didn't send me the report. Okay, well, you're in charge of the report. Why isn't it here? Quit making excuses. So if we could get that working, oh man, that'll be great. The bottom line is, if you're the leader, lead. Don't blame.
Go ahead, Lucky.
Uh, that's Hibernator. Um, I would be less than honest if I didn't say that one of the biggest rewards that comes from being a leader is that I get to play with the great group that I lead. That's the selfish part is that I help to shape this group and I get to play with them. So that's probably one of the big things for me, to be honest. But it's also true that I have learned so much from everybody, both well, some of them have just been members, some have been staff, some have been people above me in the COC. Um, and those have been really valuable things that, I mean, I'm learning, those are skills that people can learn here in TAW that will carry over into their professional careers as managers, whether you're, whatever you're managing a group of people around, these are skills that are real world. And I guess that's what the Army, the military teaches you too, that if you're a leader in the military, you're going to be able to carry that leadership skills out into other work.
And you're right. You talk to someone that you're online, and that you're in a group called TAW, and they've got 1,200 members worldwide, and you try to explain to them how you influence people and how people influence you and how you get bigger and better, and you're playing again with lawyers, doctors, um, uh, teenage kids, college kids, and they don't quite grasp what you're talking about sometimes. So it's really unique. It's something I would have never thought about 7 years ago, but it's crazy. It's mind blowing. Sometimes I tell people, yeah, I was talking to my friend in Norway, and I had another guy who was in Singapore, and we were just chit chatting, and you're like, what? Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I'm gonna throw this one out to anybody. If you can think of something, what's 2 or 3 things that you look for in a future leader? I'd say personally, I would think, of course, being somewhat mature. Being mature, in fact, you're not being a class clown or anything like that. Can hold a job and actually do the job, and complete the task given. That's something. And just person's got that head on their shoulders. To me, the toughest job in TAW is probably, I think, the DC, because they're in that in between. They've got that game to take care of, but at the same time they have to kind of uh, you know they're being watched by the corps commander, army commander, and the reason why we do that, you say, well, it's kind of mean to be watching. Well, it's not. What the army command is doing is making sure that the members of that division are being well taken care of, just like the DC would make sure that the battalion staff is doing their job in each battalion. It's the Army Command team's job to make sure um, that DC is doing his job and he's accountable to somebody. So it's very important. So I don't want you to think that we're out, or they were out, uh, you know, pressuring somebody or doing this or doing that. The whole idea is accountability. Everybody's accountable to somebody, and make sure they're doing their job. Um, I'm gonna Let me look at my notes here real quick. Does anybody have anything about the couple things you look for in the future, leader?
I'll give you a couple real quick.
Go ahead.
Now, one thing, after being in the military for so long, I've seen good leaders, bad leaders, mediocre leaders. But the bottom line to the really good ones was their ability to not get excited and all flustered, and then just make a rational decision in a crisis situation. Now, obviously, we don't have that in TAW, but we still have a lot of people that get excited and they can't think right. Just calm down, make the right decision, and move out. And also looking for that decision-making ability and people skills. Now, obviously, everybody's different, and you have to treat people differently. I know people say, oh, you can't do that. Sure you can. If you got a 50-year-old man, you're going to treat him different than an 18-year-old man. So I also look for people skills. How can a leader deal with that younger guy, the older guy, the female, the Asian? Everybody's different, and you need to be aware of that and treat them all with respect and hopefully on the same level, and make good decisions.
All right. Well, on that note, I want to open the floor for some questions. If you guys will keep your we'll break to me one at a time,